Fox tonight. Don't miss the world premiere of Almost Human. In the year 2046, Detective John Kennicks was ambushed and left for dead. Now, as he returns to the force, it will take a machine.
I'm Dorian.
Are you a robot?
Yes, I am.
To bring him back to life.
I was made to kill.
Fantastic. I get the synthetic with the bleeding heart.
The premiere of Almost Human continues tonight, followed by an all-new Sleepy Hollow on Fox.
You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV network. Now, the largest new media platform on the web and your #1 source for after-show entertainment. From the AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies, this is AFTERBUZZ TV's The Walking Dead After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's The Walking Dead After Show.
Hey guys, what is happening? And welcome to tonight's The Walking Dead AFTERBUZZ TV After Show. That's how excited we are for. We're gonna play the intro all over again.
Just to remind you, this is AFTERBUZZ Walking Dead.
Just to remind you, so we had some losses tonight in the AFTERBUZZ studio.
Dario and Mando didn't make it, you guys.
They got sick. They didn't make
bloody.
It was all over the place. But we do have Kristin Carole with us.
Hey guys.
She was shooting down windows. She tried to save Glenn.
Everybody. And
she tried to save Daryl.
It was just Hello Ladies, took him away. Just couldn't save him.
Whatever, hello ladies. Hey guys, I'm Dave Klein, and hello ladies. I had to. So guys, we're here talking about the new Walking Dead episode for tonight. And we had a lot going on, so let's go ahead and get started with sort of the A storyline in a sense. Well, I guess it's kind of the B storyline, which would be Rick and Carl. And this is the beginning of the episode as we start off with Rick. And Rick is staring at Carol's watch. Carol's watch. I was looking at my notes. They look similar. Carol's watch. And he kind of sees a walker being eaten by dogs on the side of the road.
Which is kind of interesting. I don't think I can't picture a time where that happened, really.
Yeah, I think it is really interesting because it also makes you wonder about, and things people have been theorizing about and speculating, are dogs going to end up turning into walker versions of dogs as well?
Is that the next level that's going to happen?
Yeah. So it is kind of weird that they haven't been infected yet. So maybe we'll see some Resident Evil dogs, which would be really cool.
Well, and you could just tell with Rick driving away, he had this, it's always this passion in Rick's eyes when he looks at the camera, or was kind of looking away from the camera, but he does it so great that you can just tell I think he was driving as fast as he can too, so he doesn't have to worry about going back.
Yeah.
Onto something new.
He definitely does seem to feel bad and want to move forward with it. So he ends up getting back, and at this point, Maggie's outside doing cleanup duty on the walkers, and he explains to her what happens. And I'm just arriving at that beautiful Hyundai. I think we need to point that out. That's pretty important there.
You were staring at the car and not Maggie? What?
Well, it was a different shot. Okay? Maggie, 2 steps over a beautiful Hyundai. 2 steps above that.
Well, and Maggie just taking care of business there on her own. And that group of walkers is huge.
Yeah, and that's an important note. It's kind of, I think it's kind of strange that there's so many walkers all up on the wall at this point. It's almost like they take care of them every day. So I don't know how it's grown to this point. I mean, I realize now there aren't as many people on duty anymore. And as they even talk about at a different point in the show, which we'll discuss, but just how small the council is at this point, and just there's no one around to do it. But still a giant amount of walkers. Yeah.
I had a small theory. I don't think this is correct, but perhaps the governor was dropping him off. Like how he did in last season.
You never know. Now that we see
Possibly.
him poking his head around again. Wait a second. I didn't spoil anything. Nothing. So
you're getting ahead of yourself there. It was an exciting episode, though.
It was a really exciting
episode. So much
episode.
went down in that last end part, and we got to start with the
But even
intro.
overall, this was kind of one of the most intense episodes we've had this season.
Mm-hmm.
But with Rick coming back, he explains to Maggie about what happens. He explains his decision a little bit better. And this is something that I'm going to talk about in the comments from you guys on YouTube. But something people were really disagreeing about was Rick's decision and the morality behind it, especially considering what Rick has done in previous seasons. And he explains to Maggie that the reason he did it was really a lot because of Tyrese. and he doesn't want Carole to be there when Tyrese gets back.
We talked about that a little bit last week too, saying that, you know, he's incredibly angry right now. We saw what he did with his hammer with the herd of zombies that attacked him at the car. I mean, who knows what he's capable of with Carole?
Yeah, and we get that that from Rick that this is Rick's reasoning. So we were kind of justifying that we thought that could have been why. Turns out that it's his reasoning too, and a big part of his reason. So she actually agrees with him and says that she would have done it, and she doesn't get upset. I'm sure she's just too concerned about everything to get upset. But they're having trouble with this wall at this point, with the wall, and Rick goes to talk to Carl, and Carl wants to help out with everything, and Rick at this point refusing to let Carl help and trying to, and I think this is a good line from Rick, even though Carl wants to help, he thinks he's perfectly capable and has proven it. Rick says that he thinks this is his job.
Yeah,
just keep Carl away.
Well, and Carl's seen so much already, and I think Rick is just trying to backtrack as much as possible, and I think at least Carl gets it now. I feel like last season he gave a lot more attitude, and at least now we see, yeah, he's still trying to push it. He's a kid. It's his dad. You're going to try to do that. But at least he ends up staying there in the end.
He's getting through those tough stages of puberty.
Exactly.
I think that's the important
He's turning
thing.
more into a man, both, you know, physically, emotionally.
Yeah, but he doesn't argue as much, like you said, which is actually kind of, I think, nice. I agree with him. I mean, I get it. He's a kid. He's eager to help. He wants to step up and start sort of being an apprentice to everything going on. But it was kind of nice to get no back talk from him in a sense.
Yeah, he was being a good son, listening to his dad.
Yeah, but Rick really taking charge overall. This is the moment where he has transformed. I feel like he completely transformed this episode. And he comes back. Maggie's having trouble. And to me, this was the huge moment where Maggie's having trouble with the gate. And they hear the gunshot as they're having trouble with it. And he tells her to just go and take care of it. And he'll be fine on the gate. And she mentions he needs help. And he's like, I know I do. Don't worry. I'll get it covered. And this, to me, is the moment of Rick being back to me. I feel like more than everything else we've seen so far.
I agree. I think crazy phone hearing Rick, I think he's gone.
At least for the most part.
For the most part,
For the most part, yeah.
I mean, he brings that with him, I'm sure. You know, wherever he goes, you can't leave that kind of past behind him at all. But this is where he realizes, too, and that Carl can take care of himself.
Yeah.
And can be a bigger help. And as we saw, Carl was definitely helping Rick in a lot of ways.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Because Rick does end up going to Carl for help, as you're talking about. And, yeah, first they're trying to prop up the wall with giant logs of some sort that they're using to put it up. And then those start to snap and break away at the weight of all the walkers as they bust in. And I gotta say, I think my favorite moment of all the cool stuff going on in this episode, for whatever reason, I love the moment right after this. The walkers bust in, and Rick just body checks one of the walkers into the gate. I was just
Get down.
And he just like runs past one of them, body checks a couple. Like, it's not even a big deal that he's mixed in the middle of a swarm. You could just body check them away, and it's all good.
I really liked a lot of the camera angles they used here, too. It reminded me a lot more of a horror movie. At one point when they were all walking, you had an angle that was towards their feet and kind of looking up. And I think that's also a good effect because I'm sure it makes it look like there's a lot more than they possibly used.
That's a great
on top
point.
Of it. So I really, whoever was doing the cameras and the directing that night.
That's a great point. I tried to load up the live chat right now, and we're having trouble right up the live chat. I think it's just the internet connection.
That was Dave on his phone.
That was Dave talking live on my phone to the mic. We're going Inception here.
Yeah, we're trying to get you guys on the chat and get you guys in the conversation. But...
So if you guys are on the chat and wondering why we haven't talked, that is why. But I'm trying to get it. I'm sorry. But so they end up going and kind of finding the mother load of guns that is just stored away and that they have ready for just this type of situation, this emergency, and picking up a couple of assault rifles there.
I'm sure that's something they picked up from Woodbury because the governor had, you know, a lot of weapons, and when they killed all the military guys that one last season, I'm sure they picked up a bunch from then.
Well, they were also stashing up, too, for their war that they were going to have. So, I mean, they've got, I'm sure, plenty of leftovers. So I wasn't too surprised they had it. We never really saw where it was before. So it also kind of is sort of funny when you think about the way they've been dealing with walkers when they have this giant stash to easily take care of them. But it is smarter to do it the silent way.
Yeah, and also just to save up because you never know when you have a moment like this where basically it reminded me of, House of the Dead, when the video games where
Yeah.
you just kind of, they're all coming at you at the same time. You just have to like shoot.
Yeah.
But-
Oh, totally does. Actually, and I was trying to figure out the name. We were talking about what type of assault rifle it was. I'm thinking maybe an MR16, but I haven't been playing enough Call of Duty. Apparently, I need to get Ghost. Speaking of video games,
Yeah, get on that, Dave.
I
Come
know.
on.
What am I thinking? What am I thinking? It just came out, so go get Call of Duty Ghost. Unneeded advertising.
Dave doesn't get paid for that.
I don't get paid for that one. So that was actually, I don't know, they were pretty badass in that moment, I think. Especially Rick clearly knew how to shoot it, and Carl too. So they've been, definitely the training's been paying off that they've been doing through these couple of years.
Well, it kind of looked like Carl had never picked one up before, but he's definitely a very fast learner. And Rick was kind of teaching him as they were walking up and able to do it. And at one point, Carl saves Rick and then also helps him and gives him another cartridge.
Yeah, it was like almost like a buddy cop movie type of thing where
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, I got your back.
Well, you saw the look in Rick's eyes too. That besides just asking Carl to get down there in the first place, that while they were going through it, he was like, "Wow, this decision was correct. My son really knows how to take care of himself." I think that's a huge moment for any parent
Oh yeah.
to know that your kid, you've taught them well, and they're able to take care of themselves and kind of be responsible.
And yeah, like you get that moment too between the two of them in that glance too of just, this is Carl's moment to prove himself, and Carl does it, and just the way they were able to work together beyond the fact that Carl could take care of himself, and that teamwork they exhibited with what you were talking about where Carl tosses him the ammo and the ammunition. I think that's just another bonding moment too, where you just realize how well they work together, father and son. So that was, to me, an important moment.
I know we talked about Carl wearing the hat again, but he's keeping it on. So
Yeah.
he's definitely, they're both back in Sheriff Rick mode.
For the time.
Yeah, for now.
For the time.
It's kind of nice to see that when everything else is crumbling apart, is that their relationship is now probably stronger than it's ever been.
It does seem like that. And after they finish all this, they kind of do their little cleanup walker duty, and we were joking that that's the father-son bonding time, is as you're stabbing
Thanks,
walkers
Dad.
in the head.
It's like, usually go to the zoo or something, but no.
Go clean up,
Let's clean up
stab
some
walkers in
walkers.
the head, and
Bonding.
have your bonding moments.
Never been closer. What a moment to remember.
True moments. A walk to remember.
Oh, pun. You're a punger.
Maybe. I'm on pungence today.
Oh.
I'm going to keep going now that Terry and Nando aren't here to stop me. So, that kind of wraps up Rick and Carl's storyline that we have here. And then we also have kind of the really big and super intense storyline, which is Herschel and the sick. And we get his story. And Herschel's trying to really take care of all of them himself. And he kind of has this gross method of putting the medicine, or not the medicine, but cleaning up people's blood from their throats.
Exactly. They were explaining that one of the reasons that they were dying so easily was because they were choking on their own blood. So he makes this contraption to help, clear the air path that way and keep them breathing so it doesn't kill them. Which, really smart, obviously. He's a doctor. And I wonder how much before Dr. S started deciding he was going to die, how much help he had with all of that.
Yeah, I have to wonder too, but this isn't something we've seen implemented before Dr. S started dying or deciding to die. So it almost seems like something Herschel came up with, which is surprising because you'd think it'd come from Dr. S, which you were kind of mentioning, because Dr. S is the doctor. He's not the veterinarian. But I love the little moment there, Herschel talking to Sasha and Glenn commenting on how small the council is now, and declaring they're gonna have spaghetti Tuesday and Wednesday nights. It's spaghetti night.
And thank goodness for Herschel, because it does. He broke up a lot of the episode. Between last season and this season, they're giving him a lot of wonderful one-liners. I still remember last season where he was talking to Milton, and he was like, "Can I see your leg?" And he's like, "Not if you don't buy me a drink first."
Yeah. Herschel really developed into a fun character, especially from what we saw in the second season where he was the very God-abiding, and there's nothing wrong with that, but very, very God-abiding, and then drinking away his sorrows, and he's completely transformed into, I find him to be really likable right now.
And definitely somebody who, in a serious situation lightens the mood. everybody else is a little, Glenn was, obviously he's not feeling well, so I'm not going to blame him, but he was incredibly serious and a lot more quiet, and it wasn't, you felt more of a connection to Herschel,
Yeah.
I feel like, in this episode.
It's funny that you talk about that with Glenn, too, because when you think about Glenn when we first met him, he was the funny, joking character who
And now he
everyone could
definitely
relate to.
not.
Yeah, and he's super serious. But
When
unlike
you're going to
Dr.
potentially die, it makes sense.
No. But unlike Dr. S, he's still helping out with everything, trying to help Herschel with everything he possibly can, taking care of victims or helping Herschel take care of victims. And Herschel having this method where he doesn't want people to see what he's doing, which is really humane, I think,
I
where
think so too.
they'll cart them off on a stretcher.
Because these are people that, even though we don't know them, because there are a few people who are like, Woodbury guy number 3, not exactly sure who you are, but the other people there know who they are, and who knows how much time they've spent with them in Woodbury. Obviously, it was 6 to 7 months in the prison.
Yeah.
But all of them have a connection. I think that was really great. And even Herschel, he couldn't look at it was Mr. Jacobson at that point, or was it?
Mr. Jacobs.
Um,
Mr. Jacobs was the guy who he couldn't, like, he had to, or no.
no, it was a guy after him. Excuse me.
Yeah, yeah.
So many died this episode. It's hard to keep them
Just a
straight.
lot of Woodbury people, so we don't care.
But the one guy, Woodbury guy, he could not look at while he was doing it.
Yeah, Mr. Jacobs was the one they were trying to transfer.
That's right.
With Glenn. But on the chat, Laura Jones talking about how many food jokes there have been recently. Like last week there was the fruit, now spaghetti. So
I think they're all just hungry
jokes.
on set.
They're depriving us of food to make us seem more like Walker, like we're depraved and that's all we can think about.
I mean, the spaghetti. I was thinking about that when he said it.
I was thinking I want spaghetti all the time.
Spaghetti Sundays for
Spaghetti-
Walking Dead.
That would be let's do it. Spaghetti Sundays and watch Walking Dead. Join us. So Izzy kind of comes up to Herschel too, and Herschel's a really fatherly figure at this point. And Herschel telling her the same thing he's telling everyone else, that you have a job to do, and her job is to read Tom Sawyer at this point. And she talking about how she can't read because it's night, so
Which was
they have
actually
light.
really nice, because just a moment before he was talking to Glenn, and Glenn was like, well, what if I can't do it because I'm not here? And I think Herschel was waiting for her to say that.
Yeah.
And she still kind of now she's become the innocent one, because Beth has gone through way too much, and now she's taking care of a baby. So I feel like we're losing that from her, and now they bring in Izzy, and she's going to be the one that kind of brings that back.
Yeah. And we also get Maggie now coming in right after that. She's upset. She wants to see Glenn. And Herschel telling her that Glenn's just resting. As meanwhile, it kind of turns out Glenn doesn't want Maggie to see her because he's afraid she'll come in. And he's still kind of trying to protect her and trying to stop her from coming in and getting sick too.
Because I think if it is for her own good to an extent. I would be mad if I was in Maggie's shoes, because I would want to, no matter what, you want to see, and you never know, just in case too. I mean, you want to say a last goodbye, but you don't want her going out there when she has another job to do to try to keep them safe from the herd of walkers outside. And she's there thinking about Glenn anyways, but I think it'd be far worse if she saw what he was looking like.
Oh, definitely. Because at that point, like, his eyes were completely swollen and sunken in. I mean, I doubt he even knows how bad he looks. Well, I guess maybe he has an idea from seeing everyone else. But yeah, so, and I agree with you. I think to me, the whole thing, it'd be hard to keep me out just for the sake of, like, I want to at least have that final moment with them if that was going to happen. So, but Maggie does have that job to do, which she goes off to do for the time being. And this is kind of when we get the moment with Herschel with Dr. S, a.k.a. Caleb, who is pretty much just
He's given up. Yeah. He's like, I'm over it.
He brought shotgun ammo with him, wants to lock everyone up.
Thank you, though, Caleb, for not coughing on Herschel again.
I know,
He was keeping his mouth covered.
At least this time he's being thoughtful. Like, he's
heck,
like, Herschel, I
Caleb?
never thought you should have come in here. Let me cough all over you.
Yeah, now you're definitely sick.
He's just proving his point. He's like, let me prove my point to you and cough blood all over you. This is what you're going through. So, the Woodbury people then, I mean, just everything turns to chaos. Woodbury people are dying like flies, people that we really don't know the name of. The random guy at this point dies who Herschel just can't look at. And there's a moment here where we have the interaction with Rick. At this point, Rick's back, and Rick wants to talk to Herschel and tell him about Carole, what he had to do.
Well, I liked the small not exactly breakdown we saw of Herschel, but you could just tell he was tired, and
Oh yeah.
I don't think, obviously, he wasn't expecting somebody to be there as he was killing the other Woodbury guy.
Totally wasn't. And yeah, as you said, important that he still couldn't look at that person.
And
when
he
did
said,
it.
was it a sad soul can kill quickly, I believe.
A sad soul can kill quicker than a germ.
That's what it is.
That's a Steinberg quote.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, which comes important a little bit later. But I mean, again, with the whole Rick storyline, Rick tells Herschel, and Herschel doesn't seem to comment on it at all. And if he does, we don't get any of that. But it seems like Herschel must have accepted it.
Well, as we saw when he was walking out, you could just see it in his face that he didn't know what to do, because here's somebody, and it was the same feeling Rick went through, where here's somebody they trust and they loved that was made into this family, and now it's also somebody who knew how to take care of everybody as well. And not only did he lose a friend and a family member, but also just a good person who contributes to this prison, who takes care of things, who can kill really well. Not sounds bad, but you know what I mean.
I want some mass killers with me too on my side.
Yeah, she's a great murderer.
Totally.
If you're gonna have one.
But I mean, I think speaking on what you were saying, Herschel's just so exhausted at this point. He probably just can't even deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
As you were talking about, it's just like, all right, I can't handle this right now with everything else going on around him. But as we do get that quote, a sad soul can kill quicker than a germ, he has that moment with Sasha right afterwards where Sasha passes out and he's kind of taking care of Sasha. And Sasha tells him that she thinks he's crazy, but if it wasn't for him being so damn stupid, that she doesn't think she'd still be there. So it really is the fact that he is, and Rick tells him this too, he is the reason that people are still kind of alive, is because he's giving them hope. They're seeing that someone's there trying to help them, trying to keep them alive.
And who's not sick yet.
Right.
Knows how to say yet.
Yet. It's also, we haven't seen, we never do it, at least so far, we haven't seen anyone get healed yet and cured, which is kind of a shame, I think. I think everyone would probably be waiting, like, when's the first person going to get better? Someone's got to get better from this, but not yet.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, there's baby steps to kind of get them that way, but all of the main players, none of them have died yet from this illness. It'd be interesting if they all got through okay.
Yeah.
It'd be... Actually, that might be the surprise of Walking Dead. I feel like Walking Dead always surprises us with who they kill, and maybe it's the surprising point this time of who they don't kill.
That would be cool.
Because we're all sitting here like, oh, Sasha's going to die this week. Oh, Herschel's totally going to die. Well, now Maggie's exposed.
And now we just got to be like, well, nobody's going to die.
Yeah.
New prediction.
They're like, screw you guys. We're going to save all of them.
On the chat, Brent Henry saying that he's sort of surprised Herschel made it this far. I thought that he would have died in season 2. So credit to the writers for keeping him alive, kind of speaking on that. So it will be pretty cool to see them start surviving for a change, as much as it is exciting to see, like, and wonder, like, you don't know who they're going to kill next. It'd also be exciting that they survive because it's so different. Mm-hmm. And that is a change of pace. But speaking of people dying, we have a random man whose name we never know, we never really find out, who won't let Herschel go into his cell because there's someone who turned.
And it looked like a younger boy that was in there. So I'm assuming a son or a brother of some sort, because we see this guy later come out of the cell, and then he starts eating him. Yeah,
and just starts eating him. It's all good. Something to that extent. But that's when all hell breaks loose, and they see all the walkers start coming. There's the girl who, this was the coolest walker to me, the girl with the blood all over her face. Really creepy looking. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So all hell just completely breaks loose at this point.
Herschel, he didn't finish his job of closing the cells, trying to save Sasha.
No. Couldn't do it in time. But fortunately, the guy does try to help him out and comes out with a gun. And then he sort of also saves Herschel, because instead of Herschel getting bit, this guy gets attacked. Mm-hmm. So then he starts getting attacked.
Well, and then the blonde girl who took the walker off of Herschel ends up accidentally getting shot.
Yeah.
And then she's a walker later on. So it's just
all hectic chaos. Woodbury people don't know what you're doing, except for Lizzie, who goes up and actually starts trying to help Glenn. Mm-hmm. She doesn't end up reading, or at least maybe she can't because it's too dark. So she goes to check up on Glenn. And the walker who has I'm not sure what it's called, maybe a catheter? or something. I could be
know.
totally wrong, but the thing is,
Send us what it is on the chat because we're not entirely sure what to call
Sorry,
it.
I don't know my medical jargon. My mom, who's a nurse, would be ashamed.
We're in the entertainment business. We need to learn more.
Yeah, I know. Seriously.
Sorry, guys.
But Lizzie goes to help out and ends up actually really being helpful here and kind of playing with the walker as if it were a dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She always wanted a pet walker, so she kind of got it temporarily.
Her dreams came true.
It's like kind of haunting to hear her when she talks about the walker. She's like, I felt like he could still hear me and there was somebody in there. It's basically what she says, and it's like that's
Well, I'm sure
that's naive. But
well, it's also what a lot of them want. Like any of the characters that we've seen still who lose like a kid or a family member, since it still looks like them, they still just think like somewhere inside there, that person still exists, even though according to the CDC they do not.
yeah, and they're still trying to eat you.
Yeah, but we know from the CDC in season 1 that they're completely transformed. It's totally different. But still, people want to hope. They want to hold some hope in their heart that that person's still there in some sort of way. So, as Lizzie's then about to get attacked, Herschel's finally gotten up and helped Lizzie out. And they kind of start taking care of things. Maggie busts in because they hear the gunshots, and Maggie's now helping out. And that's when Herschel sees Glenn, who's coughing up blood, and he needs to go get the tool.
Medical device.
The medical device.
And the walker has still on his head. And just Herschel's like, son of a... And can we talk about Maggie's kind of kill shot? Like up the, just like right underneath the chin.
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of a cool
They got some good aim.
stunt this time.
Maggie's pretty cool. She's a pretty cool chick.
Let's get some water.
But yeah, I mean, at this point they're so well trained, and Herschel doesn't want her to, but she does anyways, and she has such impeccable aim. And I think all of them do at this point because they're so used to you gotta shoot walkers in the head, and she's actually able to do it. She shoots the walker right in the spot where it doesn't kill Herschel, doesn't hurt the medical tool, and he's able to get it and ends up starting to help Glenn out.
I think this is one of the few shows that we see these people shoot so much that it's believable that she wouldn't hit it.
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes you look at that and you're like, there's no way. But with all of their practice.
It's also nice that this is a show where they're not stormtroopers. And they can actually shoot.
Yeah, exactly. Just go in there.
Just saying.
They just need the force to start strangling the walkers from a distance.
I was thinking that the thing to me also that was kind of creepy about what Herschel did, outside the fact that he's wrestling with a walker, is that he was up on this cage thing that at any moment really could break, and something he's not even thinking about because you're still in the moment.
Well, and I know I talked to you about this while we were watching. Can we applaud Herschel for being able to do all of this with one leg, basically?
Yeah, it's funny. You said this at the beginning of the show when we first started watching the episode. Like, wow, it's amazing how well he can get around with one leg. And I'm just kind of thinking, like, I forgot he had one leg.
Because I don't think, and correct me if I'm wrong, viewers, but I can't recall kind of seeing what his new leg looks like. Because obviously he's not using the crutches anymore. So somehow they figured out, probably with Dr. S's help and Bob, you know, to create something.
It's a RoboCop leg.
He just uses a walker leg.
It's biotic.
He just sewed it on.
Yeah, no, that's crazy though, because he does seem incredibly nimble for having one leg. And
to go up on that chain thing, I can barely go up there, I would think, and balance myself with two legs.
Yeah.
Let alone one.
So,
but
good for you, Herschel.
Yeah, I applaud him on that. You know, he's slightly older.
But on the chat, let us know if you guys noticed too. So, before we move on to our final topic, I do want to say that if you guys do want to join us on the live chat, which we do finally have up and running, that we do the show every single week, 9 p.m. Pacific time. To join us if you want to join us on the live chat. That's Sundays, 9 p.m. Pacific time. And please comment, please rate us both on iTunes and YouTube, positive or negative. If you guys rate us negative, just let us know why so we know how we can fix the show and make it better for you. So we love to hear what you think, and we love hearing from you guys.
And we always try to respond to as much as we can. I know personally, we were talking about with the new change on YouTube, I couldn't reply to a lot of stuff. There wasn't the option. I wasn't sure if that had something to do with the Google+, but...
And comments if you don't like G+.
Yeah.
Now we're gonna have 1 million comments. There we go.
We could always email us. I think it's info@afterbuzztv.com as well. So we take emails.
Yeah, we do take emails too. So guys, please do that, and let's go ahead and talk about the kind of the cleanup and the aftermath of everything. Is at this point everything's sort of taken care of on the wall end, everything going to hell. Rick and Carl taking care of that, and Herschel and Maggie kind of take care of the sick at the moment and start saving and taking care of Glenn. And that's when the crappy minivan that should have been a Hyundai, and that's why it didn't look as nice.
That's why it took so long for them to get there. Great timing, guys.
I know,
right
seriously.
after Rick and Carl took care of all of
Right
it. Where's
after-
Michonne with her sword?
I
Just
know.
knock everybody
She
down.
could have just sliced everyone's heads in.
Seriously.
And it's just because they weren't driving a Hyundai. They were driving a Hyundai, everything would have been good.
Yep.
So Baha Val on the chat, Baha Val on the chat saying that at least the peg leg Herschel. So I guess maybe he still has a peg leg. So yeah, I don't know. I don't really didn't notice even seeing his leg in this episode.
No, not really. You see him limp a little bit, and that's kind of what reminded me.
Yeah,
It's like, oh, that's right. He's missing something.
definitely. So we get now as they get back, the veterinary group. The first thing that Tyrese does is ask about Sasha jumping out, and the first thing that Daryl does is ask about Carol and the kids.
Mm-hmm.
So Herschel tells him like, "Hey, you're gonna have to go talk to Rick about that one."
Mm-hmm.
So kind of finally like alleviating, because he's kind of been the leader. He's sort of alleviating it and leaving it to Rick to take care of that.
And I really hope they show that in the next episode, because
do
I was
too.
disappointed that we didn't get to see what Daryl's reaction was to that. And maybe it was just such a big moment that they didn't want to do it in the last 3 minutes of this episode. That's what I'm hoping.
We're gonna see another headbutt style like moment of him being incredibly intense.
Well, and I read somebody, one of the viewers wrote at some point that Norman Reedus is actually not in 2 or 3 of the episodes this season. So maybe he finds out and tries to go and find her,
Yeah, that could be.
and that he comes back. I don't know where this person found that, or I don't have that much to back it up for it, but I thought that was an interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know if this episode was technically considered that, because you barely see him in it.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I want to see how he takes it.
But yeah, I'm curious too, and I really hope they do end up showing that. And we have Bob finally being helpful and treating the sick and helping Herschel out, because he is a medical doctor. I
Well, he's
believe.
gonna have to take
Or
more
an army
charge.
or an army medic, I think was his title. But yeah, he's definitely got to make up for what he did.
Well, and now that Carol's gone and Dr. S, it's getting a lot smaller with people who know how to handle medicine.
Yeah, and as Rick kind of comments, things are gonna be different now as he's talking to Herschel, and they definitely are, because now they don't have nearly as many people to help them out with everything. But we get a brief moment of Farmer Rick back with Carl.
That was cute.
Yeah, it was cute. They have the pea pods, but even while they're doing that, Rick still seemed more in charge than we've really seen him. He's not wearing his headphones, ignoring everything. He still seems to be the leader character that we got in season 1. He seems much more back.
I think that's more of a father-son outing that he wanted than to, hey, let's shoot up some walkers.
Maybe a little bit. Just
He's
a
like,
little bit
oh, I
back.
just wanted to farm with Carl. Why couldn't I just do that?
And we have the big moment. Farmer Rick isn't the only person who's back.
As soon as that music came up, you know what they're going to show. And it makes sense.
It was Carol. She was.
Her and the governor are making out. I'm just kidding.
That would have been really crazy if they were playing the intense music and then it's just both of them. And he goes the do 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 do, the intro theme song, as it shows Carol and the governor making out.
It would be the weirdest moment on television.
Do you see what happens when Daryl and Nando aren't here?
Exactly.
So
Sorry, Dave and I just goof off too much.
the governor, he is back, and we kind of get the end with that. So I'm kind of curious, and I'd love to hear you guys. I know you guys were talking about the governor earlier in the chat, and I'd love to hear you guys chiming in now about what you thought about the governor. Were you expecting the governor to be back at this point, Kristin?
Yeah, it was going to happen this episode or the next. I know we talked about after Michonne said, I'm going to stop looking for him. It's like, well, and then they got rid of Carol.
Yeah.
And they started, the sickness was taken care of in this episode. He's going to show up. I thought it was interesting. He's by himself. And one last scene, he still had his 2 henchmen with him when he left. So are they still in the picture? Did he just get mad at everybody and ended up killing them later? And even in the previews for next week, we don't see either one of them.
We just see a lot of fire.
Yeah.
A lot of fire in the preview.
Fire is the governor's friend. Apparently.
Brent Henry asking Carol and the governor were making out, and no, we were just joking.
No,
sorry, no.
We were just kidding.
We were
that
just
did
joking.
not happen.
Joseph Bose is saying Carol and the governor making out wouldn't be too weird in the adult version parody. I know the governor would be.
Watch, it's going to be like fan fiction now because of it.
I hope so. If we start that, I will be proud. But I kind of wasn't expecting to come back this early. I figured it would be season one, or not season one, but the first half of this season, and they take care of the arch by the first half of the season. But it does make sense because, as you said, they kind of, at this point, have wrapped up all the storylines. The sickness storyline just wrapped up. And you never really end a show on a note of like, oh, everything's good now. You always have to end with some sort of tease that's going to make you want to come back next week and watch.
Well, I'm with you. When the season first started, I thought for sure it would be at the end of, because they'll split this up. It'll end in December, and then the other 8 episodes, will air again next year like they did last season. And I just figured that's when the governor would show up. But if you follow David Morrissey on Twitter, he kind of tweets about being on sets and stuff, and it sounds a little bit like Atlanta. So
David Morrissey.
He doesn't give too much away, but
you're ruining the discrepancy of the show. So, on the chat, Laura Jones saying, I wish they hadn't shown him in the preview, the governor in the preview. I wanted to be taken by surprise. And I can understand that. It is more kind of surprising if he just shows up out of nowhere doing some big thing.
Well, and it looks like we're going to see what he was doing.
Yeah.
While the prison was going through this is what the governor was doing, because it doesn't look like, maybe this is just how they're trying to play it up. But you don't see him with anybody.
Yeah, and all the stuff that they were showing, it's like they were showing a random house burning, and they were showing him by a fire with a walker, and it was kind of stuff to me that said, I agree with you. It looks like, well, this is what the governor's been off doing on his own, as opposed to this is how he's dealing with the prison group. So, another thing that was interesting to me is as he's looking at the prison group, he's just kind of standing there by himself, just staring at them.
Yeah.
Just kind of hanging out. Joseph Bose on the chat agreeing with you, Kristin. He thought the governor would have maybe come back after the hiatus. It's too soon for him to return. So, or that's what he originally thought.
Yeah.
So.
Just after the last episode, after Michonne said that, you knew. And I think we all kind of agreed with that last week.
Laura Jones thinks that the governor's burning buildings down and standing in front of them like a badass. So.
I feel like he had a lot of moments like that last season towards the end there.
Yeah.
Where he was just walking and he would just shoot something, whatever. I'm the governor. I'm just
mowing down innocent people like a badass. Okay, maybe not that moment.
Well, and I know some people talk about when they did the attack on the prison and he hit our friend Lou Temple right in the head in the one shot, and then he doesn't really shoot anybody on target after that.
Yeah.
Which was kind of interesting.
Lou.
Maybe he took his time.
Always Lou.
Rest in peace, Axel. You follow me?
Will you follow me on Twitter, Axel? It works perfectly for him on Twitter, I gotta say. It's like the perfect thing for him. So some comments from you guys from last week's episode. Charzarzar, which makes me think it's Charizard, but you have a Legolas photo for your G+ account. She'll be back. So this is kind of on Carol. And there's a lot of arguments about Carol in the comments. So here's some of the interesting comments. A lot of you guys had interesting comments here. Charzarzar saying she'll be back though. Carol will be back, and her departure will probably lead to the governor coming back or the reason they leave the prison. Rick only decided to kick her out when he saw how little she cared for the two people, as well as no longer acknowledging her kid. So kind of a point on that. And Tonlo72 saying, so get rid of a longtime member to the group who's on the council for Tyrese. He didn't even have to tell Tyrese. The majority of the group is sick or will turn. So Rick gets rid of a healthy person who can work and fight all to save Tyrese's feelings. I'm sure she's not off to the show, but it was a stupid route to me for the writers to take. Rick got mad at her for making a decision without talking to the council, but he did the same thing to her. That's, I think, a good point. I think a fair point. I think Rick is a little...
Well, I don't think it was necessarily to spare Tyrese's feelings. I think it was to spare the fact that now we have more deaths. It's not caused by by walkers. It's human on human, and I think that's something after last season they're definitely trying to escape.
And Lucas Butler is saying, did anyone else get the irony or hypocrisy of Rick making a unilateral decision to exile Carol from making a unilateral decision of her own? Although he didn't kill her. Just saying. That would have been a twist.
That we know.
Now that would have been a twist.
Watch, like, her tires were slashed or something.
Something like that.
Yeah. No, I'm just kidding. I'm being sarcastic.
What if she shows up with the guy that bro from the other episode?
Well, because, we didn't find out what happened to him. We just saw that his, tattoo-legged girlfriend, that we didn't know her name.
Steph Daon saying, I think that Rick is a hypocrite. Carol took care of his newborn and son while he was running around crazy. Plus, nobody put his son out of the group for murder, and he didn't feel that it was wrong either. Also, Rick killed plenty of people with no remorse on the farm, the prison, and in Woodbury. So, kind of some dissension from you guys on the chat on YouTube. So, if you guys want to weigh in again this week, definitely do weigh in.
Mm-hmm.
But
because Maggie agreed with him.
Yeah,
so
and Maggie actually ended up agreeing with him. So I do want to see that moment, like you were saying. I really do want to see Daryl and what he has to say. But a lot of you guys were commenting on Kristin's question for you guys from Kristin's quiz.
So we'll go back into the trivia. So I'm really glad you guys, we had a lot of answers. I always feel bad when there's excess answers.
Yeah.
But then it's just too many people. Let's try to limit it a little bit. So last week's question was, what is the name of the doctor at the CDC? And it's Edwin Jenner. And we had Birdman, ARG, and Brent William Henry, Epic TV, which was their second time. And again, you can answer up to 3 times, and then you'll be entered 3 times, so you have higher odds of getting it. Bahaha Val, who's on the chat, you made it again, second time. And then Joe Beard, second time as well. So it's kind of cool.
Timers.
Yeah.
People step it up.
Well, last week, I don't think we had any second people. So it's kind of back to answering. So then, again, only answer on YouTube, first 5 people. So this week's question, I'm going to go with this one because we saw the governor. So Dallas Robert, who plays Milton, kind of the right-hand man of the governor, also starred in what AMC television series?
Ooh.
It's actually one I hadn't heard of. So it's not Breaking Bad.
We don't know that you've heard of Breaking Bad. You just
I feel like everybody's now heard of Breaking Bad.
What is Breaking Bad exactly?
It's something with the dad from Malcolm in the Middle.
Okay, so it's a comedy.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's really funny. But yeah, answer that on YouTube. First 5 comments, first 5 correct answers, get entered into it. Heck, if you don't know the answer, just wait till one person puts it and write it down. But yeah, so answer that.
Yeah. All right, so guys, let's go ahead and get to some predictions.
And now, your AFTERBUZZ TV predictions.
This is insanity.
Different colors.
We had lights on the studios going off. So, I think that that the governor, I mean, obviously is going to be a big point, but I don't think we're going to see Carol next week. I feel like they're going to leave her out another week, but she will be back. I just don't think next week's the week. I have a feeling, like you were saying, that Daryl will probably want to go search for her and try and find her. The interesting thing here is that Michonne says she finally stopped looking for the governor. So I think the governor's going to do something, and Michonne's going to wish that she was still out looking for the governor. But that is an important point. And I'm going to say I don't think anyone's going to die next week. I don't think anyone's going to die. That's my thoughts.
I was going to say I think somebody's going to die. I think it's going to be more of a flashback episode for the governor to see kind of what's he been up to.
Yeah.
Or at least kind of what's he doing now. And I think maybe towards the end of the episode, he's going to come back with a vengeance. I feel like he has to take somebody down. Now, who it is, I'm not entirely sure. Like maybe, since Herschel was able to save everybody there, maybe he's the one that gets it from the hands of the governor. I feel like you still can't kill off Michonne yet. Because she's just awesome. I think she has to have a moment with Daryl.
I mean, I think definitely.
That's at some point, Michonne and Daryl, it's going to be more than just her smiling at him, trying to do little flirts. Matches your eyes.
But Daryl wants Carol.
I think he will go after her.
Yeah.
Which won't be helpful if the governor's in the nearby area.
Yeah. That'd be pretty. That might be an interesting twist that they could do. Is that Daryl goes out looking for Carol before they know the governor's back, and then he gets back and kind of helps out by like finding out everything's gone to hell while he was gone. So that'd be interesting. So actually, and then maybe Carol helps him or wins her way back.
That's how she can.
That's how she could, sort of. But a lot of people in the chat talking about the Walking Dead game because season 2 is coming out soon, of the video game for the Walking Dead. And I have to say, myself and you guys were talking about this, I would love to see Macon on the show. I don't know if I want to see the characters like Clementine on the show because that would be too much of a transition, but it'd be cool if they did a reference for the people who played the Walking Dead game, which is really good. You guys should play it. The Telltale Games one, not the other one. But yeah, so season 2, if you guys are big gamers, season 2 of the Walking Dead Telltale game is coming out really soon. The first one was really good if you haven't played, and you should definitely check it out if you guys are big Walking Dead fans. So that's going to wrap us up. And guys, once again, I'm Dave Klein. You can find me on Twitter at @TheDaveKlein. That is Klein.
And you can find me, Kristin Carole, on Twitter at Kristin Carole 13.
This seems so short now. So we will see you guys next week.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.